Paying vendors electronically rather than by check has become a common practice. It requires generation and transmission of what's known as a NACHA file for payment via ACH. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to set up Sage Mass 90 and Mass 200 to generate the required NACHA files so you can begin to make payments electronically to your vendors. We've broken the setup into 4 steps, which are requesting that your bank set up ACH on your account and provide their NACHA file specs, activating ACH electronic payments in accounts payable, setting up a bank code for electronic payments, and setting up a vendor to be paid via ACH. Note that in this tutorial, we'll only be covering the setup of this feature. The actual processing of an electronic payment will be covered in another tutorial. So let's begin with step 1. You'll need to contact your bank with 2 requests. First, that they set up ACH on your account or accounts, and second, that they provide a copy of their NACHA file layout so you can properly configure your system. There are some variations in each bank's setup, so if you want to set up electronic payments on accounts at multiple banks, you'll need to obtain the NACHA file layout for each one. Now let's move to step 2, which is activating ACH electronic payments in your Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200 system. We'll do this in Accounts Payable, so let's begin by going to our menu tree and open Accounts Payable, Setup, Accounts Payable Options. Here we'll open the ACH tab, and we'll enable ACH electronic payments by checking the box. You may have noticed that checking the box has enabled the other fields on the screen. Let's now examine these setup options. Print Vendor Remittance Advice. If you check this box, a remittance advice will be printed on blank paper with a listing of invoices paid by the ACH. If you leave this unchecked, a check will print for $0 and the payment information will print on the check stub. For our demo, we'll check the box. Moving to Next Vendor Remittance Advice Number. You can edit this number and it will increment each time a remittance advice is printed. The number will be preceded by the letter E to denote an electronic payment when the form is printed and updated to the payment history file. We'll leave 1 as the starting number. Next, we have Allow Partial Allocation of Payment Amount. Enabling this allows you to process part of a payment electronically and pay the balance by printing a check. We'll leave this disabled. And moving to Reset Prenote when renumbering the vendor. A prenote is a test file for $0 that is sent to the vendor's bank to ensure that the account is correctly set up for electronic payments. You should enable this if you're sending prenotes and want to send a new prenote if the vendor number is changed. Selecting this option will also set the prenote field in the vendor payment settings to No. We'll leave this unchecked. And for years to retain electronic payment history, you should set this to the number of years required by your company's record retention policy. It will accept anywhere from 2 to 99 years, and for this demo, we'll set it to 10 years. And finally here, the ACH Electronic Payments folder. This is the location where the ACH files will be stored once they're generated and ready to upload to your bank. In a network environment, this should be the UNC path and not a drive letter mapping. Importantly, network security can be set on this folder to limit access only to users with rights to AP. For this demo, the same folder used to store our paperless documents will be used to store the ACH files. And that completes our review of options on the ACH tab. So now we'll click Accept, which saves our selections. Now we'll move to the third step, which is to enter the NACHA file information that we received from our bank into the bank code that will be used for ACH payments. To do this, we'll go back to the menu tree and under Accounts Payable, Setup, we'll select ACH Interface Maintenance. Here on the main tab, we'll open the lookup and select the bank code that we'll use to send our electronic payments. For this demo, we'll select bank code A, Security Pacific Checking. Account type has 2 options, checking, which is the default, and savings, and we'll leave it as checking. For Prenote Approved, this box must be checked in order to process ACH payments. The next section contains the bank's routing transit numbers, which you'll need to complete using the NACHA file specs provided by your bank. For this demo, we've gone ahead and entered some example numbers in these fields. On tabs 2 and 3, you'll again enter the information from the bank's NACHA file specs. We're not going to review the fields on these tabs because the information is specific to each bank. So now let's click Accept to save our settings. For this demo, we're only going to set up one bank for ACH, so we'll go ahead and close the window. And that completes step 3, and now we'll move on to step 4, setting up a vendor to be paid via ACH. Before proceeding, you'll need the vendor's bank account number, routing/transit number, bank account type, and bank description. Let's assume that we've obtained this information, so we'll continue forward. We'll go to the menu tree, select Main, then Vendor Maintenance. Using the lookup, we'll select the vendor on which ACH will be enabled, and let's choose All Climate Maintenance. Here on the Main tab, we'll enable electronic payment by checking the box. And after doing so, the standard entry class field becomes available. Your bank may require a standard entry class to identify the type of transactions that will be transmitted for this vendor. It's not commonly used unless you are transmitting different classes in the same file, so we'll leave it blank. Moving up to the More button, we'll open the selection list and choose Electronic Payment. Note that this option is only available after the electronic payment box has been checked. If you're setting up electronic payment on the vendor for the first time, you'll need to save the changes before proceeding, and we'll hit Yes. This opens the vendor electronic payment screen, and here we'll enter the vendor's bank information. For demo purposes, we'll use some fictitious info starting with 123456 as the bank account number, for routing/transit number 124000025, and for bank account type checking, and bank description will be Bank XYZ. For distribution method, the selections are designed to allow distribution to multiple accounts or to pay a portion electronically and the remainder by check. Percent of net will multiply the total payment amount by the percentage entered for deposit into this account. Percent of gross will multiply the total of the payment plus any discounts by the percentage entered. Fixed amount would be a specific dollar amount. Percentage of net is most commonly used, so we'll leave it as our selection, and in the %/amount field, we'll enter 100%. This will deposit the full amount of the payment into this account. Moving to Prenote Sent. Recall that a prenote is a test file for $0 that is sent to the vendor's bank to ensure the account is correctly set up for electronic payments. Your selection here will depend on the policies of your company and bank. If you choose to send prenotes to your bank, then select No. If No is selected, you will need to run a prenote selection that will change the field to Yes, send the prenote file to the bank, and upon approval, run a prenote register that will change the field to Approved. If your policy is not to send prenotes, then select Approved. In order to process an electronic payment, the field must be set to Approved, so we'll make that our selection for demo purposes. The prenote date field is automatically updated when the prenote selection and prenote approval registers are updated. Since we selected Approved, the prenote date automatically defaulted to the current date. The deposited year-to-date field will automatically update as electronic payments are made to the vendor. Now we'll click Accept and Accept again on the Vendor Maintenance window. And that completes our tutorial on setting up accounts payable for electronic payments. Give us a call if you need assistance with this or any other feature in your Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200 system. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye for now.